Hi there, this is Kenneth B, and you're watching Blue Collar Guy. Okay, we're back. So, today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Get some of this stuff here out of the way. You must be familiar with what these are. These are USB power bricks, and here's some examples. And we use these all the time. They come in different specifications. They have different current voltages. They have different, let me see, this one here is 0.3 amps maximum, 100 milliamp hours. So got one jack. And these ones, I believe I got these ones on Amazon under Amazon Basics, and they are 2.1 amps. This one here, let me see, we have 9 volts, 1.67 amps at 9 volts, 5 volts at 2 amps. Got another one. Let me just clean this one off here. Some of these might have gotten a little bit dusty because they were in a drawer. 2 amps and 0.3. So there's the specifications for that one. Roughly 5 volts, 2 amps. Here's a name. No, it's not a name brand. It is Jet. Hard to read this one. Looks like 0.2 amps. 5 volts, 1 amp. Here is another one. This is also from Amazon, I believe. There, it says right on it. So this is definitely an Amazon one. And it is so tiny on the writing. 0.15 amps. 5 volts, 1 amp. And let me just hold that more still so you can see that. So 5 volts, 1 amp. So forgive me for the little bit of shakiness, but hey, what are you gonna do? Got another one here, similar to that one. Oh, here is a Motorola one, also dusty. This is a name brand. Let's see what we got here, because this one here says, oh geez, 5 volts, 2 amps. Made in China. And then we got this one here. Made in China. Doesn't really say. Nothing on this side. Okay. Okay, so what is the point of all this? Well, we buy some of these things from the dollar store. Maybe this one came from the dollar store. Some of these things we get name brand when we buy our phones, things like that. Some of these we just acquire them somehow, and we don't really know much about them. However, we end up plugging in devices to charge with these things that are worth thousands of dollars. So would you trust a $2 USB to a $2,000 phone? Well, quite often the answer is yes. You'll see people just grab whatever, go to the dollar store, and they'll plug in Lots of electronics. Now, I recently got a power distributor, was as a gift, and one of the outlets shorted out. And when it did, it heated up my cable to the point where it destroyed it. Had I not noticed that, had I not touched the end of the cable and seen how hot it was, I could have had a fire. So it is important that some of these things are working. So how do you test one of these? Well, I'm going to show you. You get a device similar to this, also dusty. They plug into these units, and then it will tell you what voltages, and it'll even tell you the sine wave. You can get them, they look like this. This is a more expensive $50 unit. And then you've got this one. This one here is worth about $25, $26. So, and this one, of course, just plugs into the units, and then it tells you if they work. So, how do you deal with that? Like, what do you do with all this information? Well, at least you'll know what's written on here if it matches here. Now, one thing you need to know is a low voltage. So if something is supposed to charge at 5 volts and you're only getting 4 volts out of it, it can harm your electronics, and you don't want that. So that's the other reason for these kind of testers. Now, instead of using a phone, you'll use a device like this. Now you're like, okay, now you're really getting crazy. What the hell is this thing? Well, this is a load tester. So if this thing here is rated for 2 amps, I can put 2 amps in here. I can actually program it in here. And then in conjunction with one of these, it will tell you if it's actually performing the way it's supposed to. Now, I don't expect a lot of people to run out and start buying these or one of these, because, you know, they're expensive for that comparison. But it is good to know that when you have an expensive device that requires USB charging, that you get a power brick that you can at least trust. And the other thing I wanted to show was, well, we have this. This is a power station, and they come with their own jacks. See, this one here is rated at 5 volts at 2.4 amps, and then this is a quick charge 3.0, and then these are USB-C outlets, and some of them are rated at 100 watts. This one isn't labeled, so we can actually find out. And it will tell us, because as soon as the voltage drops below 5, you'll know that you're getting into an area in which it's not performing the way it should. So, what do you say we start to begin this process? I'm going to get a extension cord here and grab some power. Bear with me. Okay, so we've got our power, and I'm just going to get a clip here. Okay, I just want to clip this down so it doesn't move around a lot. And there we go. Just didn't want this to move all over the place. So what we'll do is we are going to do a few plug, because this is a grounded plug and this is not. So bad move on my part. I'll be right back. Okay, this is a grounded plug. As you can see it's also a lot thicker. I'll plug that into there. And it doesn't light up right away. Well, it does actually. Mistake, but it just says 0. Okay, so we are going to plug in one of these. Actually, let's plug in one of the simple Amazon. Where's that Amazon one that I just had? Where was the Amazon? Oh, here it is here. So Amazon, when they do their Amazon basics, are known for not making something that is really superior, but not making something that's horrible either. It's usually pretty much exactly what it's got to be. Now, as you can see on the screen here, it is reading 0 because nothing is being drawn from it. If I take this load tester and plug it into this, you will see I've got a flashing light, and I know it may be hard to see there, but there we go. 2.10 amps, which is, I believe, is what this was rated at. If I hit this button here, okay, then I should have a reading. Let me just get this back here. It says 0.65 amps, 0.65, and I'm reading 2.1. Okay, so on the meter here it's reading that. Let me just see, function 4.5 watts. Okay, this is, oh, I've got to clear that off. This is, it's remembering something else. So, okay, 0.24 kilowatts, 118 volts, 120 volts. By the way, this is plugged into the R600 power station, so even though it's doing pass-through charging, it's still using 120 volts. This one is 110, so 110 is fine too. But anyways, but looks like here I'm only seeing 0.065 amps on the load tester. So let me see if I can't turn this up a bit. No, this is getting warm, so I'm exceeding the capacity of it. Let's go down to 1. Let's go down to 1 amp. Let's see what happens. Okay, so now we're reading 1 amp. 0.060087. Okay, so I'm gonna unplug that and unplug this. Now we're just going to test this. Oops, wrong one. We're going to test this into, and this gets warm too. So now we're going to use this type of tester. So we've seen the results of this one when it comes to testing USB, and you're not going to get a very good reading by the looks of it. So now we're going to plug in this one here. Then we're going to plug in this one. Now, as you can see, the power came on, and there's your oscilloscope. So we know that it's functioning. The blue line is current and the yellow line is volts. It is saying I'm getting 5.20 volts out of this, which is good. And it is saying I'm getting 0.10 amps because there's nothing plugged into it. So now I'm going to plug in the load tester, and this is going to simulate plugging in a phone. Okay, so then you see that spike. So So the voltages remain the same around 5.3, but now we're just doing 1.10 amp. And if you look at the load tester, we're at 1 amp, which is pretty close. If I turn this dial and increase it to 2, I'm going to increase it to 2 amps. Oh, error code 4. Okay, hang on. We're going to replug this in. Let's see, there we go. Okay. Okay, nice big display. That's the other thing about this. Now I'm going to increase the amps. Okay. Now one thing I've got to let you know is this does not have its own power source. Therefore, it's going to have parasitic drain. There's the fan that just came on. So 1.09, 1.10. So as you can see, I'm going to increase it. I'm going to keep going up here until, oh, the screen went off. So that means that this can't handle it. It's kicking off as a safety. Okay. All right. If I turn it down, see how it went back on? The most it'll handle is 1.15 amps. It puts out about 6 watts, which is good. Okay. All right. Let's try another one. So that's the Amazon Basics. So we're going to unplug all this. There. Okay, so now we know this one. Okay, Amazon Basics. And it was, and it did say, let's see if it was lying, 1 amp. Yeah, basically it's just saying, hey, just use this at 1 amp. 6 watts though, that's not bad. That's charging at a fairly good rate. Now let's go to this adaptive charging, where it is saying it'll do 5 volts, 9 volts. Let's try it out and see what happens. Okay. Plug this one in. This one has a sideways connector, which some people like. Whoops. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe it's got to go this way. Here we go. And running 5 volts. I'm going to turn on the current now. Now look at that. The voltage dropped to 4.9. 5.6 watts. Okay, let's turn this up and see what happens. The voltage is still okay. We're pulling in a little bit more. Alright, fan's kicking on to cool off the MOSFET. I believe they're using a MOSFET or some kind of transistor. Still holding. We're going to increase. Just brighten the screen here. We're up to 10 watts. Still holding around 5 volts, which is okay. 2.1 amps. And I think that was the maximum it said. So this is a 10 watt charger. Okay. It may do more than that, but we can push it and see what happens. Let's push it and see what happens. Yep. Right there. 12 watts. So this is roughly a 2.1 though. It'll start to fail after that because of all the parasitic drain and everything too. Yeah, see, that's what it's failing right at that point. So I'm going to turn this down just to... That's the other nice thing about this, is that the screen will change too according to the orientation. Okay, let's unplug this. Okay, so we know about this. All right. That. Okay, so we've done those two. So, are we going to sit here and test each and every one of them? There's the no name. Okay, and the answer is no, by the way. We're not going to test every single one of them. But I am going to test one more, which would be the Motorola after this one. And let's see. Alright, so functioning at 4.9 volts. Let's activate the load tester. Oh, it turns off right away. There we go. So let's turn down, let's go down to let's go down to, let's see if this functions. Nope, doesn't work. Let's go down to 1. I bet you this one here is a good example. It should be able to do 1 amp. Okay. 1.07, make it 1 even. Okay, there we go, 1 amp. Okay, turn it up a little bit more. 1 amp, 5 watts, which isn't bad, and it's holding at 5 volts. If I push it, I might be able to get a little bit more. 1.1, 6 watts, 1.2 amps, 6.5. So that even though this is a no name, it can't do the 10 watts that the other one can, but it's not a slouch either. I would, as a matter of fact, it probably will cap out at 1.5 amps. So we'll unplug that. So that's a keeper too. It's not as good as the other one though. Okay, so look, they look very similar, but this one outperforms this one. Okay, one more. Yes, you've been waiting for it. The Motorola. Will the Motorola, a name brand charger, perform well in this situation? And we will see. Hang on here. Okay. Okay. What is she rating? 5.1. We're going to start it off at 1.4 amps, 7 watts. Seems to be functioning just fine. Let's increase that. We're going to increase that more. I'm going to bring it up to 2.1. Look at the watt voltage on that. Voltage on that is actually really good. Oh, voltage just dropped down to 4. Okay. Look at that, eh? Did you see that? So at 2 amps, 11 watts. That is probably the best performance yet. So if you wanted to know if the Motorola USB chargers are good, they are. Unless you try to get more amps out of them. As soon as you try to get the 2.1, yeah, look at that, eh? 2 amps. So if what you're charging is 2 amps, or draws 2 amps, you'll be fine. If it tries to draw more than that, not so good. Alright, and just so you know, look at that, 2.1 2.06 amps. I have to kind of cover that. You can also get the other readings on here too, see? It'll tell you 10 watts, 5.3 volts. See? Pretty close to what you got there. Now, I did mention there's another tester that I have, because a lot of people will buy the cheaper one. So let's try that out. I want to just unplug this second here. And what we will do is we'll plug this one into here, and we'll have this one into here, and we'll have this one into here. There we go. How's that for a setup? So I'll turn on the load tester again. Same performance. As you can see, look at the reading there. 10 watts, 10 watts. You know, the reason why it's reading here is because these have what I call parasitic drain. They are not self-powered. Oh, this one here just dropped down. So I got to lower this just a little tiny bit to 2. It has to be 2 amps. So 10 watts. Got 11 watts here. See? 11 watts, 10.7. Parasitic drain. It's going to have less here than here. This one also has other information, but it's got an oscilloscope too. But it's just so tiny you can barely read the thing. So if I wanted to get really snazzy, I put this on the oscilloscope, and then I put this one back to its voltage. There. And it'll give the high and the low. Yeah, so you can do that. If you really wanted to get snazzy, get 2 of them. And then you can have quite the setup. Well, as I said, a lot of these power stations also get tested as well. So if I unhook this, set this cable aside, and then I take this, plug it into the USB 3, and then I take this and I plug it into the USB-C input. Now we're testing the power station, and it's telling me the sine wave on the power station. This is telling me the voltage and how many amps. If I hit this, you see that big old spike happen there. Now it's saying 4.67 volts. Well, that's not that good, right? So power stations can be used to power appliances, but let's lower that down to 1 amp or 1.5 amps to see if we got 4.7 volts. Because it should read 5 volts. Okay, 4.75, and there we go. We're getting closer to the 5 volts. So really it's not. And then this one here, I'm going to plug it up to this. That was a USB 3. So let's do the 5 volt, 2.4 amps. So this power station says it'll do 2.4 amps on that. Okay, so it's holding at 4.92 volts. And I'm going to increase it to the 2, let's see, let's go 1 amp and see what happens. See, it's still holding 4.73 volts, which is a little under voltage. Will it handle the 2.4 amps? There's 1.5, 4.6. Okay. 1.5 volts. So I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend plugging anything that was 2.4 amps in there because I'm only running 1.86, right? Let's try the USB C output because a lot of those are rated for 100 watts. Let me just get a cable, be right back. Okay, I had to eliminate one of the testers because when I plugged it into the USB-C out, this one won't even come on. So this one does, but there's a switch back here. So I'm going to, oh, hang on. It just went off. Okay, so apparently we must have overloaded it. It's not rated for 100 watts. So let's test it out at 1.5 amps. I'm going to bring it to 1.5 amps. Let's see, here's 1.45 amps. 7 watts. Okay, 4.9 volts. Voltage is actually better on the USB-C output, and it usually is. So if you're ever going to charge anything, get the USB-C to USB-C connector. Most of your devices will run at a higher wattage. There's 1.5 amps. I'm going to push it to 1.6. 8 watts. Can we push it even higher? $9 So this is the VTOMAN 1800X that I'm running this on. And the voltage is still holding at 4.9. I'm just going up very slowly because I did notice that it kicked off. 2.1, 10 watts. So yeah, you are way better to go with the USB-C out. You will get much better charging result. Let's take a look at the sine wave. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to keep pushing it because it's saying on the other one 2.4 amps. Maybe that meant this one. 2.2, 2.4, and there's my 2.4 amps. 11 watts. Not bad. Not bad. You can charge your phone pretty quick. Let's see if we can go up even higher with this one. 2.5, 12 watts. Probably get about 15 watts out of this. I bet you could get about 15 watts. That's 13. I'm not going to go too crazy. Voltage is starting to drop now. So, yeah, 13 watts, basically what you're going to get. I'm going to turn it down again. Get that voltage back up. So 4.9, 2.5 amps, so 12 watts, not too bad. Okay, so anyways, that is the testing for today. And if, like I said, when I plugged it into this one, Where is my USB-C? Okay, so if I plug this directly into here, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't light up. You know, there's nothing. So I can't get it to work. So the cheaper model has more limitations. So keep that in mind. So am I glad that I got both? Yeah. I'm going to check things. It's good to have, the more readings you have, the better. These power stations are definitely things that have to be kind of scrutinized a little bit, because just because they have certain numbers on here doesn't mean that those numbers are right either. However, overall, it's functioning pretty much normal. You know, it's better than probably, well, the USB-C output jack is better than this, okay? But the other outlets, the 3.0 or 2. Whatever, they perform pretty much what these guys do. So, anyways, that's it for this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long, or I didn't bore any of you, but we do rely on a lot of our electronics to work properly. And the next time you go to the dollar store, keep that in mind. At least get the one from the Amazon Basics that was holding up. But if you can get a name brand Motorola, or maybe you'll see one at a flea market, that's a better charger. You know, get one of those for $2 instead. So anyways, take care and be safe at work, and I'll see you at the next video.